Stugotz here for ZipRecruiter. Does your business have any New Year's resolutions? Here's an important one every business should consider. Make your hiring process more efficient and effective. This year, let ZipRecruiter help. No one has done a better job of transforming how you find the right talent than they have. ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. Then, ZipRecruiter actively looks for the most qualified candidates and invites them to apply. They even review every application to identify the top candidates, so you never miss a great match. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It finds them. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, our listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. One more time. Try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Dan.
Don Le Batard.
Can you please give me more tips on how to start a fire?
Stugotz.
You need the right kind of sticks. It can't be like a little thin twig because that's going to snap. It can't be really thick because it's cumbersome. You need 2 sticks that are probably the thickness of one of your fingers. And then you literally rub them in a T formation. And the key is you're going to see smoke first. Once you see you're rubbing them hard enough where the smoke appears, then you're close to getting a little flame. When you get the tiniest little spark, you have to blow on it. You have to fan the flame. And that's the crucial element because once you get the flame, you're golden.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Want to know why Kyrie Irving left and wanted to go to Boston? Because every year at this time, there is growing discontent in the Cavaliers locker room. And that's because of LeBron James. And Kyrie Irving wanted nothing to do with it anymore. Anyway, I'll get back to that. Chris Mortensen joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Hey, Mort, how are you?
Good, guys. Just want to send my best out to Dan, knowing that he's ill. I've been through some of that, whether it's flu or whatever, recently, and it's no fun. So best out to Dan.
Yep, Dan is out today with the flu. That is very nice of you, Mort. Considering all that you've been through, that is very nice of you, and that's why we love you for thinking of Le Batard in this terrible time for him.
Well, wait a minute. I was telling Allison before we get on there. I had the flu 2.5 weeks ago. I basically ended up in the hospital for about 6-7 hours getting 5 IVs. It's nothing to mess with. So, you can compare that to whatever you want. Stugotz downplaying Le Batard's illness.
I mean, listen,
my
Greg,
goodness.
Listen, I got a little tickle in my throat. It's a little scratchy. I'm here to, I'm working. I'm playing with pain today. Greg Cody had the flu just a week ago. Mike Ryan's under the weather. The entire studio here, Mort, is under the weather.
I'm talking about the flu. I'm talking about the flu.
Yeah, I know. Listen, we should be.
Now, listen,
yeah.
I will say this. I feel I've been watching the show as I always do, and I went and read Greg's column this morning, just about the Dolphins, and so I come into the show better educated, better informed.
Nice,
certainly about, and I think that Greg's on point with his thing, which is one of the lessons of the playoffs we got so far is be great at something. I mean, yes, I still believe you have to have the quarterback, but be great at something.
I would also say, Mort, that I understand the point Greg was trying to make with Dolphin fans, how come it's never us? But I would also say, Dolphin fans, there's hope. It's why Mike and I always say, just get to the playoffs and funny things can happen and you find yourself a game away from playing for a Super Bowl, and that should be a lesson to all teams there. Like, hey, 9-7 as a wild card team getting to the playoffs, that's a good season. That could become a great season.
Well, listen, I think there's been a lot of coaches through the ages, some of whom you don't like and some of whom I do, who said just get in the tournament. You get in the tournament, you got a chance. Now, the only way to ensure that you get into the playoffs is to win your division. So you can say, boy, we can just get in as a wild card. No, listen, try to win your division. I mean, that's what the Jaguars did. But then anything can happen. But, they have certain qualities. I mean, I look at the Jaguars, when you cover the league, you say, okay, what are the components that make up a great organization that can maybe be sustainable? And the one lesson that I think was always preached to me was, hey, ownership, general manager, head coach, quarterback. And those are kind of the foundation pieces there. I look at the Jaguars, and one thing we haven't talked about is Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars. What he did this past year, he's interviewing for a new coach. Doug Marrone is the interim coach. Not necessarily Mr. Popular, but nevertheless, Tom Coughlin wanted that coaching job. But, Shad, I think, was concerned maybe a little bit about Tom's age at 70. But in that interview, he saw something about Tom that he wanted. So Tom, who actually thought he was out of the running, gets a phone call out of nowhere on a Monday at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon from Shad Khan and says, what would you think about coming in and heading our football operations? And our head coach, Doug Marrone, and the general manager, Dave Caldwell, answer to you. And the owner to have that vision, with some talent already on hand, to me is the reason why Jacksonville has a chance, at least a chance, going to New England.
Mort, this is the first Final Four ever where all four teams ranked in the top 5 of the league in fewest points allowed. Do you see any sort of a trend being spawned from this Final Four where teams are going to start thinking defense first again as opposed to the fireworks offense?
You know what? It's a good question. I think they've always, theoretically, they think defense. Everybody has the cliche, defense wins championships, offense scores points. I think they all talk about it. I just don't think they know how to put it together. I mean, in Jacksonville, you've got to give Dave Caldwell, the GM, and even Gus Bradley, the coach who couldn't win games, some credit for understanding you had to put together talent on defense. And then they came in and added key parts with Coughlin on the defensive part. But, yeah, we got to run. But then it's like, okay, we got to run the ball too. But, ultimately it's defense and it's a quarterback. That's supposed to be the blueprint, which is why it's a unique Final Four, because the only quarterback that anybody would take to the bank is the guy in New England, Tom Brady.
It's interesting because everyone's talking about, building a different model, that the franchise quarterback is not as important because Nick Foles, Case Keenum, and Blake Bortles are 3 of the Final Four quarterbacks. But hold on, more. But here's the thing. Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniels, both those guys are willing to live. Like, think about what Matt Patricia's doing. He is willing to live in Detroit because they have a franchise quarterback over New York because they don't have one. So in the eyes of the coaches, the quarterback's the most important thing.
Why are you saying that? Listen, I know there's been some reports that Patricia was the Giants guy. That does not match up with my information that he was the guy. I was actually told, so he definitely was one of the 3 finalists.
Right.
But you also want to be able to work with a guy in Bob Quinn that Matt Patricia knows well from New England. And we'll see how that plays out. But you're
mad at me
to a conclusion.
Yeah,
no, I'm not mad at you.
You're getting feisty.
I've never been mad at you.
Yes, I know.
I've never been mad at you. I mean, I get to enjoy you is what I get to do.
Well, Mort, let me do it this way. If Matthew Stafford was the quarterback of the Giants and Eli Manning was the quarterback of the Lions, and Matt Patricia had his choice of jobs, where do you think he goes?
I think he'd be very comfortable with Bob Quinn as his general manager.
Okay.
But at the same time, listen, Matthew Stafford is a heck of a quarterback. Eli Manning, we presume, is at the end of his last 2 to 4 years. Dave Gettleman, the general manager of the Giants, is going to address it. Eli is going to be the quarterback. I anticipate they will draft a young one. I don't know that they'll draft one at the top of the first round, but they've got other issues. They've got offensive line issues. The idea that forced Tom Coughlin out was the result of 3 or 4 years of awful drafting in the areas where Tom Coughlin knows you have to win, which is the old thing, the trenches, defensive line, offensive line, and you build it from there, and you got to have the quarterback. So, I kind of know where you're going, but. You got Chris Sims coming on later, and by the way, John Fogerty, too. So Fogerty may have the answer for you.
All right, we'll ask him. We'll make sure to ask him. Chris Mortensen with us here on ESPN Radio. Mort, I found what happened in Tennessee to be very interesting, and I'm wondering, they have to know who their head coach. For people who don't know, after the Titans playoff win, they said that Mike Mularkey was going to get an extension. In fact, there are reports that before the game, they told Mularkey they'd get it done after the Patriot game. Now, the Titans ended up losing. The Titans ended up going back on their word, and they got rid of Mike Mularkey. They did that knowing who their next head coach is going to be, right, Mort?
That's what I assumed yesterday, and it turns out that's not quite right. The extension talks had started well before the most recent weeks. Clearly, John Robinson, the general manager, was not comfortable with the progress of Marcus Mariota at quarterback. And I believe that the owner, Amy Adams Strunk, felt like after they beat Kansas City, let's face it, the concussion to Travis Kelce probably delayed this by a week, and we might have a different landscape. I think Josh McDaniels would probably be the obvious guy who was going through the Tennessee Titans, but things got down the road behind the scenes. We'll see. We think he's going to the Colts. We'll see how that works out. But I think they created a situation where you've got to change out your staff. You got to change out significant members of your staff, Mike Mularkey, and I think Mike balked at that, and that gave the leverage, I think, that John Robinson was looking for to make the change and get a quarterback. So I don't know that they know who their coach is going to be right now. I think they're ready just to move on, whether it's Mike Vrabel or any other candidate that impresses them. And yes, of course, they'd like to get Josh McDaniels in their interview room after the Patriots play this Sunday.
Mort, the Vikings, I think, have a quarterback room as interesting as any. Case Keenum theoretically has proven himself, but when Sam Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater are both healthy and you've got Case Keenum in the mix, how does that shake out?
Well, when everybody's healthy, Sam Bradford's the best quarterback of the three. I mean, his talent's undeniable. I mean, look at the opener against the Saints on Monday Night Football when the season started. But he's not healthy. I mean, his knee's better, but it's still not the same health. But you go, listen, as Mike Zimmer, even himself, I know he won't commit to Case Keenum, but the team believes in Case Keenum. And by the way, what happened at the end of that game the other day, which to me was one of the great moments I've witnessed, and certainly in the NFL, Case Keenum is going to be the quarterback. Be anxious to see what happens at Philadelphia if Case is struggling. That defensive line of the Eagles, I think, has a chance to be very dominating against the Vikings offensive line. But I don't foresee a change coming during the game here. I think Case Keenum's the guy.
All right, Mort, we appreciate the time. Thank you for calling in, and we'll be sure to ask John Fogerty that question in about an hour and 15 minutes.
No, I just can't wait to hear it.
All right.
Dan Le Batard.
I tell you, I have a knife, Swiss Army knife, and I'm ready to go.
All right.
Whatever you need. I can start a fire with 2 sticks, just like you hear about. I've done it.
Stugotz.
You've never done it.
I have done it.
No, you
Surviving it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Greg, the segment's starting.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You got a line here to read.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it's okay. Listen, you're doing extra work, man. You're pitching in. You're doing a great job. Everyone's impressed with how professional you've been with Le Batard not here. They have been. The entire shipping container. We really have been. Been very professional, except for right now.
Hey, get in touch with us through 1-800-FLOWERS, Twitter feed at Le Batard Show, at Stugotz790, and at Greg Cody. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
Dan is off today. He has the flu. There's a masseuse here. Listen, we love Dan. Dan is a strange bird. I think we voted him, all of us voted him the strangest person involved with this radio show, right? Strange guy. There's a masseuse here. Dan ordered a masseuse for us because he wants this place to feel like Google. And Guillermo's not here right now because someone is walking on his body. And I got to tell you, if you're a masseuse out there who is going to walk on me, put your bare feet on my body, you're not the masseuse for me. I don't want your feet on my body. And the reason I haven't gone in there yet to get walked on is because I don't want her feet on my body.
It's called mashing. She's wearing socks, by the way. It looks phenomenal. I can't wait.
Oh, really?
Yeah, me neither.
All right. Oh, you're excited for this. You don't mind her feet on your body.
Not at all. I encourage it.
Really?
Yeah, I wish she had like 5 feet.
Why?
Just the more feet, the merrier. I mean,
covers more ground. Yeah,
5 feet, 25 toes.
All right. So Guillermo, right now, she is walking. It actually does looks fantastic. When do I get to go?
I'm next.
You're next? Well, when do I get to go?
We should do it on air.
Well, how are we going to do it on air?
We can't really do it on air.
Just bring the microphone down low.
There's no space for him to get walked on there.
Wait, does she ever use her hands, or it's just all...
It appears to be all feet.
Really?
Mashing it.
What a talent.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about Mike. Are you good with having someone's feet all over your body?
I'm not thrilled about this.
No? Have you done it yet?
No.
Are you going?
I'm on the fence.
Roy?
No.
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 All right.
Really?
No. Wow.
Here's why. Dan bought everybody a gift, and I don't want to be rude.
Right.
So that's the only thing tugging at me
see.
right now.
Okay.
Because I don't enjoy massages. I've only had one in my life.
Really?
It was not an enjoyable experience
Why?
at all.
How?
It hurt.
What do you mean it hurt? No, but you got a deep tissue massage is what you got.
It hurt, but I kept saying go lighter, and they did. And I was like, this is stupid. This is not making me feel better. Afterwards,
right?
And I felt relaxed afterwards, and I was like, okay, maybe I kind of get it, but it's not worth the pain to get to that relaxed.
But I think you did a deep tissue, like stretching massage. You got to go like a 90-minute Swedish, like traditional massage, and you'll love it. I really don't think I did anything that extreme, and I kept saying go lighter, and she did, but I thought it was stupid.
This seems intense. I asked one of the crew guys who went before Billy. Right. I was like, how was it? He's like, it was great. Everything hurts.
Hurts so good, like Mellencamp said.
I did pinch a nerve around my shoulder area.
Right.
And that's been bothering me recently, and I'd like to get that fixed, but I don't think, a massage would help.
No, it will help. Mike, you remember me on Friday?
Yeah.
You remember I could and now you notice I'm better today, right? It's because I got a massage over the weekend. So it does help. Like, that's why we went to that spa yesterday where they charged me $30 for a shot of tequila that I never paid for, because who would pay $30 for a shot of tequila? Who would do that? No one would do that. But that's why I went there, to get a massage, because my neck was a mess, and now it's better.
Understanding everything that you're saying right now, I still think the main draw for me to go over there and lie on that mat and have her walk on me is because Dan did it as a gift, and I don't want to be rude.
All right. So, but when do I get to go?
We're going to have to figure that out, because you're the host.
Right.
Billy is flipped over now, and she's walking on his chest.
Yes, she is.
Well, I'm not sure if I want that.
Yeah. Well, on the chest?
Yeah.
You just said you wish she had 5 feet.
Well, 5 feet from my back.
That is Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Greg, what do you do if you're the Cavaliers, where there is, I guess, reports out there, growing discontent among the Cavaliers in that locker room, not playing well. They lost to the Warriors again yesterday. I think LeBron knows this team has no shot against that Warriors team in the NBA Finals. They might not have a shot against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're playing that badly right now, although I would say I would still take the Cavaliers and LeBron James to make it out of the East and get to the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. But here's where it gets interesting for me. The Cavaliers have the Brooklyn Nets pick next year. They got that because they did the deal with the Celtics for Kyrie Irving. The growing discontent is one of the reasons Kyrie Irving wanted out of there, because every single year there's growing discontent because LeBron James is operating on 1-year deals. I know this is the second year of a 2-year deal, but for all intents and purposes, LeBron James he won't sign a long-term deal with anyone.
No.
And I guess I kind of understand that. But he also can't expect the Cavaliers, in my opinion, to trade the Nets pick to help bolster this roster for this year so they have a better chance of getting out of the East and beating the Golden State Warriors. I would need assurances from LeBron James that he's going to be here long term. If he says he will, then I trade that pick. But because he's not, I'd never trade that pick.
No, I wouldn't either. And you know LeBron, he's not going to re-up with Cleveland. He's going to go elsewhere in desperate search of another ring, because he knows it's not going to happen with Cleveland. And, you know, LeBron now is, what is he, 31, 32?
Oh, no, I think he's like 33 at this point.
33, and a high mileage 33, by the way.
Yes.
And so he sees his window closing, and he's going to chase the ring wherever it takes him, and it won't be Cleveland. But you're right. Unless you get an assurance from LeBron that he's going to re-sign with you, which you won't get, why on earth would you trade that pick?
Maybe because you think that pick can bring back a guy that helps you win an NBA title this year? I don't know. That would be the only reason. That would be the only reason. And to continue to show LeBron James that you're doing all the right things in an effort to try to keep him to stay.
Right. Well, that's the best of both worlds.
Right.
But if you can't trade that and get the guy who helps you right now, then you have to do with that pick what constitutes thinking beyond LeBron James.
That's your leverage with LeBron James, is that pick.
Right.
That's what you have. That's your bargaining chip. Yeah. Weekend observations up next.
Don Le Batard.
Have you guys heard this story? Bas Rutten fighting a dog?
Well, I've never heard of Bas Rutten. So.
Bas Rutten's been on the show, Stugotz. The idea that you've never heard of him, he's been on the show several times.
Stugotz.
Is that B-O-Z?
It's B-A-S.
Yes.
B-A-S. All right. I was, because there's Boz Skaggs.
Boy, you guys are dragging this thing right into the quicksand.
Well, why are you pronouncing it Boz, though?
Right.
Probably like Baz or something.
Exactly.
Bass.
B-A-S, right?
Bass-Rutten.
Boz would connote a Z, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like a Scandinavian
Z. Yeah,
name.
like Boz, like Bosworth.
Bass-Rutten.
B-O-Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Something about a dog?
What was the dog's name?
Speedy.
Speedy Rutten.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Dan is out sick today, but there's a masseuse here. Fat Chris is currently getting a massage right now. He's being stepped on as we speak. I don't know about you guys. We did a Stugotz of the Day on Friday, and it's all I've thought about basically the entire weekend. I cannot get the sound. In fact, so much so I played it for my wife, Abby. I never do that. But I haven't been able to get the sound out of my head the entire weekend. We'll get to my weekend observations coming up here in just a second. Greg, have you heard the sound of Liam Neeson talking about the disparity in pay between men and women actors?
Have not.
You have not. Okay. We do a segment called Stugotz of the Day. We don't do it every day. We just kind of do it when we find a Stugotz of the Day. Mike, the way I'd like to do Stugotz of the Day moving forward, we'll play the sound for you in just a second, is because I don't think we'll ever do better than this. So if we have a new one, it has to top the one that we did on Friday. And when we play it for you, Greg, you will realize pretty quickly why this is the greatest Stugotz of the Day in the history of this radio show. Here is, courtesy of the AP, here is Liam Neeson.
There's a lot of discussion about it and a lot of healthy and necessary discussion about it because the disparity sometimes is disgraceful.
How do you think we can move past that?
We're starting, and it has to start, and it's starting with these extraordinary actresses and brave ladies, and we as men have got to be part of it. We started it, so we have to be part of the solution.
So would you take a pay cut to kind of equal things out?
No, pay cut? No. That's going too far. No, there has to be parity. There just has to be.
It's the greatest piece of audio I think we've ever played.
He's being honest. Give him credit.
It's just the quick turn from him being passionate, discussing this, seeming like he wants to be the guy to make a difference, to the, and it was a great question, to the no is amazing. Can I hear it one more time, please?
No.
Let's do weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Greg! It's official. Chris Sims looks like a fool. When a famous person passes away, guess whose thoughts I don't care about? Everyone on Twitter. I don't go to Twitter for eulogies. Please stop. Keith Jackson, you were the voice of a sport. Not many, if any, can say that. Rest in peace. Headline: John Gruden's return means the Raiders are one step closer to being back on track. A season ago, they were 12-4. Pretty sure back on track was already taken care of by Jack Del Rio, which got me thinking. John Gruden knows this is a talented team. I know it's a talented team. I also know this talented team was not built by Gruden. Therefore, any Super Bowls won with this Raider team will not count as a Super Bowl for John Gruden in my personal record book. Football is cruel. Nick Foles, Case Keenum, and Blake Bortles, at least one of those three, will get to a place that Phillip Rivers has never been. NBC, lowest rated Super Bowl of all time. Collision course. 7 consecutive AFC championship games. Is there anything more reliable in the history of sports than the Patriots? Here's the frustrating part about that. If Tom Brady retired 7 years ago, he still would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer and considered by many to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I hate him. Leonard Fournette. More like Leonard Scornette. 25 carries. Hurt ankle. Guessing on Monday, Leonard was Sornette. What happened there? The 2 4th and short calls by Mike Tomlin were the 2 worst calls in the history of the NFL. Tomlin, you can't look like a successful leader of men with spit frozen in your beard for 2 hours. Ben Roethlisberger, when that call comes in from the sideline, you might want to remind your coach, you're a Hall of Famer. You need an inch. You're 6'4", and have a face that makes you look like you are 300 pounds. Not certain what that last part has to do with anything. Absolute cheap shot. Big Ben. More like Too Big Ben. Danica Patrick. Aaron Rodgers. Genuinely interested in who wears the pants in that relationship. Kevin Durant wants to own an NBA team. Here's an idea. Win a title first. Mike Tomlin, how do you expect to get out of a stadium alive when, on 4th and an inch, you decide a pitch to Le'Veon Bell 5 yards back from the inch you need against the best defense in the NFL is your best option? Philadelphia Eagles, you want a home playoff game. Relax. I'll take my chances with Julio Jones every time. Can't believe they didn't hand the ball to Devontae Freeman. If for some reason I'm ever coaching and I'm faced with a 4th and 1, remind me to not get advice on what play to call from Todd Haley. Steelers, Jags, basically came down to 2 4th and shorts. And Greg, that's why they call it a game of inches. Wait, are they not running quarterback sneaks because Ben won't run quarterback sneaks? We're honoring Keith Jackson, and it isn't funny, or isn't it funny, that Jacksonville is playing so well is the worst use of wordplay in the history of broadcasting. Congratulations, Dan Fouts. Get the hell out of here. Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 catches, 5 yards. Oi! Poor Fox pays all that money for NFL TV rights, and what do they get? Nick Foles and Case Keenum. I'm in the business, and I'm not certain I'll watch that game. I'm telling you, Fox would take Jameis Winston and Kirk Cousins over Case Keenum and Nick Foles. If getting out of bounds had a Hall of Fame, the only person that would be in that Hall of Fame would be Ted Ginn Jr. Aaron Rodgers, Danica Patrick, Dan's jealous. Tom Ricketts said Sammy Sosa would not be welcomed back by the Cubs organization until he comes clean on everything. Ricketts, the reason you and your family made so many hundreds of millions off of Sammy Sosa was because he wasn't clean and didn't come clean. By the way, if Sammy Sosa is welcome back, can you imagine the reaction from the fans at Wrigley when they realize he's now white? No one wants to coach Eli Manning. Want to know how important the quarterback position is? Matt Patricia is willing to live in Detroit because Detroit has a better one than New York. And Josh McDaniels is willing to live in Indiana. The Tennessee Titans told Mike Mularkey before the game that they would get his contract extension done after the game. And after the game, they fired him. Tennessee Titans, the Stugotz is strong in you. While the Patriots were rolling to yet another AFC Championship game, the Jets' Twitter was begging fans to vote to get them to the next round of NFL celebrations. I hate being a Jet fan. He can't lose. Jeff Fisher is going to take credit for Nick Foles or Case Keenum making it to the Super Bowl. Hey, Chris Paul, Blake Bortles made a conference championship before you did. Had 10 shots of Fireball this weekend. That's the devil's drink. Had me feeling like hell. Art Briles must love it. Greg, those are the weekend observations.
Don Le Batard.
I love me some doctors.
Have a lot of respect for the medical profession.
Stugotz.
Except chiropractors.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Remember how crazy we thought Leonard Fournette was in the preseason? He said, this ain't much different. It's like the SEC. It's not much faster. Easier, I think he said. The NFL's easier than the SEC. Wasn't kidding. That's the Steelers on the road. I can't believe they won that game. What a great game. And Blake Bortles. See, they didn't win that game and Chris Sims going to join us, and no one had a worse weekend. Not Marcus Williams, not anyone. Then Chris Sims, he'll join us in about 10 minutes because he has Blake Bortles as the 70th ranked quarterback in the NFL, and we've been having some fun with that. But Blake Bortles was a reason, not the reason they won that game. He was a reason they won that game. They didn't win despite Bortles. They won because of Bortles.
Yeah, and Big Ben did everything he could. I mean, they were down the whole game. He kept coming back, kept getting them to within one touchdown, and then the defense just couldn't stop Jacksonville. That was an extraordinary game. 87 combined points. Wow.
The funny thing is, Chris Sims might be right. Like Jacksonville, he might be right. Like with a top-tier quarterback, this team could be that much better.
Yeah.
Because what Blake Bortles did, I mean, it's one game. Do it again. Like the great ones do it consistently. Blake Bortles has been anything but. He had a great stretch. 3 or 4 week stretch where he was made, I think, the highest rated quarterback in the NFL. A bad first playoff game, really good second playoff game. He's just not consistent enough. So Chris Sims, his larger point might be right. That Jacksonville has enough to win a championship, and if they don't, it's because they don't have a quarterback that's good enough to win them a championship.
Yeah, exactly. And Bortles had a good year for Bortles.
Yes.
But as recently as a couple of weeks ago, there's talk about, is he the guy? Is he going to be back? And I'm not, I should have asked Mortensen this. I'm not sure if what Jacksonville has done secures his future with that franchise.
I have no idea. It would have been a good question. Ask John Fogerty at 12:30.
There you go.
All right. What do you make of this? So I guess you had an opinion on Tom Ricketts, Sammy Sosa, and what they're doing. And for those of you who don't know and didn't hear the weekend observations, Tom Ricketts is saying that the Cubs will not allow Sammy Sosa back into that organization for anything moving forward until he comes clean. And what I find absurd about that, and what a hypocrite this guy is that family made hundreds of millions of dollars off the name Sammy Sosa, hundreds of millions of dollars. And my guess is, this is just a guess, that they probably had by the way, never tested positive for steroid use. And if he was using steroids, which we all assume that he was, my guess is if he was using it, the Ricketts family had an inkling that was going on in their own clubhouse. And for him to come out many, many years later and say Sammy Sosa must come clean for us to allow him back into our prestigious organization, our club, get out of here with that.
Yeah, I would respect Ricketts' stance on that a little bit more if hypocrisy wasn't involved, because the Ricketts family and the Cubs hired Manny Ramirez as a hitting consultant just a few years ago. And Ramirez obviously has a more direct link with PEDs than Sosa ever did. But what's interesting to me is how everything thaws with the so-called PED guys. I mean, Mark McGwire has been hired. Barry Bonds has been hired. The Pete Rose Cincinnati Reds relationship is thawing. And so eventually they're going to forgive and forget with Sammy Sosa as well.
Now, Barry Bonds didn't come clean. He'll never come clean. He doesn't have to come clean because he has a best friend, who's willing to serve jail time. So Barry Bonds doesn't have to come clean. Exactly. We all maintain that Greg Anderson's the greatest friend in the history of friends.
Yeah, Ricketts didn't make money off Sammy Sosa. He won the bid in 2009. This was post Sammy Sosa.
Well, that ruins my argument. Where do I go from here? That's information I could have used on the front end. When's the masseuse walking on my chest?
Do that during the Fogerty interview.
Well, who owned the Cubs in 2007?
Sam Zell?
Shame on him. I mean, this Zell guy coming out and saying he's not going to, because he's in cahoots with Ricketts.
Yeah.
You know he is. They're in cahoots.
You know that?
Cahoots in it. Yep.
Cahoots in it, indeed.
I mean, shame on him to not allow Sammy Sosa, who he made millions upon millions of dollars off of, back into their prestigious club. What a terrible job by Zell. And Ricketts. In cahoots. Well, thanks for fact-checking that. I mean, I sent it to you this morning. I'm not lashing out at you. I am not blaming you. But I just went on a rant on Tom Ricketts that he doesn't deserve.
Sounds like you were trying to blame me.
Yeah.
Which would have been a fine.
I was. But then I pulled back because I realized it would have been a fine. Well, that stinks. Where do I go from here? Chris Sims?
I mean, he's joining us in the next segment.
I said that no one had a worse weekend than Chris Sims than Marcus Williams. I think, well, now I have. Because I got that wrong. It's technically not the weekend anymore. It's Tuesday. That was a tough one.
What you just said made very little sense, and I think you're rattled because of this Ricketts thing.
Yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't Ricketts?
Didn't really? No.
I got to tell you, this Zell guy should be ashamed of himself, right? Don't you agree? I mean, Zell should be ashamed.
Zell should be, yeah.
Yeah.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.